But is anything ever really perfect? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another cold morning here at the stable. If you watched the last video, then you know that the ScrapStang is sitting pretty on a set of brand new wheels and tires. A couple of you asked what we were going to do in terms of paint, and sorry to disappoint, but paint is not one of my priorities. Like I've said before, we've already made two very pretty Mustangs, and this one in no way, shape, or form is going in that direction. At least not for now. The goal for this car is not to be the nicest Mustang we've built, but to be the funnest Mustang we've built. Which is why we installed the Mustang 2 front end kit with coilovers, shortened and installed a Ford 8.8 limited slip differential, installed a 5-speed manual transmission, and relocated the powertrain 5 inches backwards, which in turn theoretically should improve the driving characteristics of this car in almost every way. And also I just mocked up this front GT350 valance just to see how it would look. It's held up by jack stands right now, but anyway, with all of those modifications combined, this will be the funnest Mustang we've ever built. And yes, this is just a puny 302. It's not a big block or a Coyote or an LS, but for what this car is intended to be, that should be more than enough. And my wallet said I couldn't go over 302 cubic inches. Anyway, back to the point of this video. My goal is to have this car running by this summer, and we still need a lot of main components like the intake, carburetor, cooling system, fuel tank, and wiring harness. And we are gonna be doing those things on the tightest budget we can. So going back to that tight budget, we need a drive shaft for this car. New ones are about 300 bucks, and used ones on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist are about like 150-ish. But there is some complications when looking for a drive shaft for this build. Because the engine and the transmission have been relocated 5 inches backwards, we can no longer use the stock 66 Mustang drive shaft. So the stock 65-66 Mustang drive shaft measured in at about 51 inches. But being that we relocated that engine backwards, we need to subtract 5 inches from that. So we could get one for the 66-65 application, but we'd have to have it shortened about 5 inches. And either way, I don't have a drive shaft at all. So what is our next cheapest option? From the many Google searches I did, anything from a 79 to a, say, 93 Mustang should be about 46.5 inches, which, if any of you have done the math in your head, 51 inches from the original minus 5 from the relocation of the engine gives us right about 46 inches. Ding, 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 we have a winner. Just kidding, there is one thing I did not really consider, was that the transmission, the C4, might have a different length than the T5 transmission, but I can't find anything on the internet that will tell me the exact measurements. So theoretically, any drive shaft from a 79 to 93 Mustang should work in our application. And this year range drive shaft should have the T5 yoke that we need, as well as the Ford 8.8 U-joints that we need. So therefore, I need to go to the scrapyard for the ScrapStang and find that drive shaft with those year ranges, as well as that T5 and 8.8 combo. And coincidentally, Sarah also needed to go to the scrapyard. Let's roll that footage. Today we're on a very important mission to find some parts for the ScrapStang, and what better place to do that than the scrapyard. We have our cart of tools ready here. We're gonna be staying mostly in the Ford section. We're looking for 1, a drive shaft, and 2, some differential dust covers. Oh my God, look at this exhaust. This is one of those my friend can do it cheaper situations. Well, of course, we're mostly finding V6 Mustangs. We're looking for a 5.0. I believe the drive shaft compared to the V6 is different, but we do need some parts off of an Explorer. It's got an 8.8. So what I needed from the Explorers is these dust covers right here, but this one looks pretty bent, which is the entire reason I wanted to get them, because mine were bent. So we'll see if we could find some better ones. Another V6. Another V6. Another V6. Another V6. Am I crazy for expecting to see a 5.0 here? Just look at that. Another V6. I honestly can't believe that this hasn't been saved yet, but I don't think it's going to be saved. I see less and less parts every time we come back. This one right here though, this one makes me sad. 1959 Galaxy that's sadly rotting away. Repeatedly offensive. Okay. Honestly, all of the dust covers that I found are in pretty bad shape, so I might just straighten up the ones that I have. But a common theme that you will see with most of these Explorers is that the diff is missing. Now, this is a perfect example on what you want to see. We have the limited slip 4 to 8.8 with the 3.73 gear ratio. This is basically the exact same thing that we have in our Mustang. You pull one of these Explorer engines out and you'll have a 5-liter fuel injected push rod engine that you can stick into, I mean, whatever project you want. But say you're building a 60s Mustang, the Ford Explorer is a great donor car. And to top it off, the Explorers are pretty much everywhere here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's just in this row. This is pretty neat to see here.
The brakes alone, if you took the brakes off this and just put them on eBay, like there's probably $1,000 in brakes here, easy.
You think so? $1,000 in brakes and wheels? The interior is pretty minty. So that junkyard run ended up being a bit of a flop. I could not find the right drive shaft, nor could I find any dust covers that were in good condition. And even Sarah wasn't able to find everything she needed. She only left with a couple of bolts, but Facebook Marketplace came to the rescue. We picked up this drive shaft once again from Facebook Marketplace. It was scrapped out of a 95 Ford Mustang GT, and I know that's off from the year ranges I had stated, but this drive shaft measures in at 46.5 inches, and it has the corresponding yoke for the T5 transmission, as well as the end connection for the 8.8 differential. Once again, in theory, this should all work together, but there's one thing we gotta do first. Oh no, I scratched the paint. Yeah, we're filling out this quarter panel pretty nice now. Huge thanks to our newest Patreons, because you guys are helping us make this possible. If any of you want to get your name on the quarter panel here of the ScrapStang, here's the link. Then you'll be able to get an inside scoop of what we got going on a day-to-day basis, and you'll be able to see all the jokes that this guy has. I'm telling you guys, with every post I put on there, this guy always has me cracking up. Once again, thank you to all our members on Patreon. I find it a bit unreal to have this much support for a channel this size. Thank you guys. Anyway, let's see if the drive shaft will fit. All right, we got to get this Mustang back in the air. Would you look at that? The Mustang's doing a Vin Diesel. We can laugh about it all we want, but we know damn well the first time we saw that Charger do a wheelie, we were all shook. Thanks to the Catman, we can now get this car higher than we ever could. Also, don't worry guys, we're always using jack stands here as well as a safety jack on both of them, just in case any of the jacks were to fail. Some of you might call it overkill, but I'd rather it be overkill than have this car kill me. All right. Let's see if all of our measurements add up. From our guesstimations, this should work. We have the end of the tail housing for the transmission and the flange for the differential. Let's see if we have any luck. I'm gonna push it all the way in for now, just to see what we got. Woohoo! What the hell? There's no way that fit as good as it did. Taking a look at the underside, we pushed the yoke all the way in and then pulled it back out about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and we are sitting flush on the axle flange. The length of this drive shaft literally could not have been more perfect. But is anything ever really perfect? No, because none of these holes on the flange line up with the holes on the U-joints. So the flange on the 8.8 differential from this 95 Mustang must have been a bit different, obviously, because the Explorer one, the bolts don't line up. So yeah, just when you think you have it made, you really don't. But the fact that this drive shaft is basically the perfect length that we need, that outweighs the fact that we have to get a new U-joint set up. It is insane to think that we relocated the engine and the transmission and that drive shaft that we got off of Facebook Marketplace basically bolted up. So that means we didn't have to spend 100 to 200 bucks on having one cut down and shortened and rebalanced. We just have to get another one of these guys, which I'm positive it's going to be way cheaper than having one of these shortened. Also, I remember that there's no guts in the transmission, so this isn't actually splined to anything, but it should still work. I got an idea though. Once again, the transmission is sitting in the car gutless. We have all of its internals right here. And over here is the output shaft where the drive shaft would connect to. So let's just confirm that it will spline up. Yeah. Yeah, so 100%. This drive shaft is meant for the T5 transmission. But that just reminds me that the transmission needs to be rebuilt. But the rebuild is not even the bad part. The bad part is that when we were inspecting the internals of the transmission, we noticed a broken tooth on the counter shaft. Therefore, we have to buy an entirely new counter shaft, which is not cheap, nor was it in our plans. But it is what it is. We gotta get it done anyway, because we have to have this car running by this summer. Anyway, back to the drive shaft. So the thing that didn't work was the bolt pattern on this flange yoke right here was not lining up with the holes on the flange on the 8.8 differential. But from the little bit of research that I've done, the U-joint itself, this piece in here, should be the same on the Mustang as well as the Explorer. So therefore, we just need this little piece right here, the axle flange yoke. But it looks like it is $80 on Amazon. So let's see if we could find a cheaper one. Oh God. So the camera decided to stop working in this part, but I wanted to see how easy it was to remove one of these before we head to the junkyard. And it was pretty easy, just 2 snap rings. And then we pushed the U-joint out with a couple of sockets and a big old mallet. And yeah, so once again, this is the incorrect size in bolt pattern. So we're gonna go try to get the other one. But before we go to the junkyard, I wanna make sure we get the right part. So I'm going to make a template in order for us to get the right flange. So this is the template we just made. Shout out to my buddy Abel for giving me this idea. But that way we can perfectly match our new yoke or our pre-owned yoke that we're gonna take out of the junkyard to these holes, and then we'll know for sure it'll fit on our axle. So back to the junkyard we go. So it's just past 1 in the afternoon and I realized I hadn't eaten yet. So stopped by at a local T-Bell to get myself some lunch. But I figured this was the perfect time to show you guys something cool. If you're like me and have to watch something while you're eating, even if you're just in a car in a parking lot, this is for you. I'm gonna show you guys how I watch Netflix in my car. Netflix in your car? What? All you gotta do is connect the smart AI box from One Car Stereo, connect your phone, connect your internet, and then boom, you have Netflix in your car. And it's just this little box that connects with a USB cable, and it's pretty small, so it hides away pretty easy. And full disclosure, they did send this out to me for free so I could try it out. But I mean, it's pretty sick. Netflix in your car, this is perfect for moments like these where you're just on the go and need a quick bite, but have to watch something. All right guys, so we've made it to the junkyard. And one thing I'm noticing is that most of the Explorers have the drive shaft missing. But I think we might have gotten super lucky with this one because somebody did the work for us and removed this one. Aluminum? This would be nice to put in the Mustang. So huge props to whoever removed this for us. But now let's check if this bolt pattern is the same using our template. I think that'll work. Rinse and repeat. I really wish we could use this aluminum one on the Mustang, but I'm pretty sure it's too long, so we'd have to have it shortened, which gets us back to square one. Why doesn't it come out? There we go, ladies and gents. Nice. Sick. So once again, just to confirm, that fits really nice on our template. The holes aren't exactly perfect because I didn't make them perfect. But now that I realize I also need the bolts, which were not on the drive shaft. Cool, we found another Explorer with the 8.8 diff, and it still has the drive shaft and hardware installed. No, it's in neutral. So I have to activate the parking brake, but of course, there's no door handle. So of course that means we gotta climb into this rusty, dusty, crusty car. Ow. Nice. Cool, no longer spins. Now the next obstacle is getting enough torque on here to break these loose. So I don't have a 12-point socket, and I don't know how this is gonna work. We got a double wrench method. Not budging. So there's no way in hell I'm gonna break those bolts loose with the tools I have. So we're just gonna take the flange yoke, count that as a win, and head back to the shop. Alrighty folks, we're back with the correct flange yoke now. So instead of buying one for $83, we spent $13 on this, plus 2 hours of my time. So if we do the math correctly, yep, we're still at $13. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the two yokes. This one being the one that we just got, and this one being the one that was originally on that 95 Mustang drive shaft. There's definitely a size difference. You can see the holes don't line up, as well as the flanges are a greater length on this one. So we're gonna put the old U-joints back on with the new flange and relax. We're not driving the car with this on. This is just for mock-up purposes. All right, the new flange is in. Let's go ahead and test it out. This drive shaft is pretty heavy. All right, come on. This has to work. There's no ifs, ands, or but about it. Also, I did find some bolts that were under another Explorer, and they were the drive shaft ones, so that's good. No! My keys got stuck to the wheel. That's what I get. How? Ow. Look at that. Yeah. Looks pretty damn good to me. Yeah, guys. The drive shaft bolted right up to the diff. I only found 2 bolts though, so it's held on by 2 bolts, but it's not like I'm gonna drive this thing today. Luckily, we were able to remove and install that flange yoke pretty easy. See, when things like this happen, it just makes the project even funner. Also, while we're under here, on the cross member in this frame rail section, we do need to add some type of reinforcement inside of here so these 2 plates don't sandwich this frame rail together. As you can see, it was already buckled in from who knows what. But yeah, we will address that sometime in another video. But today, we gotta celebrate these small wins. I honestly can't believe that that drive shaft was the perfect length. I would like to say that I planned it and it was my idea all along, but it was just a coincidence that we happened to move the engine 5 inches back and that drive shaft happened to be 5 inches shorter. Alrighty folks, with that drive shaft installed, the ScrapStang now has a complete drivetrain, which just means we're 1 step closer to actually driving this thing. But we have to celebrate those small wins because they don't happen often. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.